Okay guys, just getting everything loaded up, ready to go. Stream will be starting properly soon. Just posting on social media that we're doing it. Which always takes longer than you think it should. Not that Lollipop minds, he's going to go trim my hedge like he did yesterday. Getting a bit of a routine here, where I spend a bit of time on setup and he wanders off. Nearly there. Alright, all shared on all the social medias. Oh, right. Okay. Would you mind checking the stream in a bit, just letting me know if the sound's working? Double check. Thank you, thank you. Might go ride a Wonder Arab now. Don't you knock that tracking beacon over, Lollipop. Doing some proper gardening over there. I know, Puff, the stream should be all about you, shouldn't it? The stream should all be about you. There's often a slight delay, Rita, so if there's no sound right now, give it a minute. I've got my staff checking the stream, making sure you can all hear me. Because as fun as it would be to do it without you guys being able to hear me, I think it potentially adds to the stream. I don't know. Having said that, I do need to say this stream is not an educational stream. Well, I say not educational. You may learn something from watching it. Of course you might. What I mean by it's not an educational stream is this is not a how to start a young horse video. I am starting my own horse and I'm having fun. I'm not being overly perfectionist about it. There are mistakes that I'm making, there are things that I'm doing in the wrong order. No, Lollipop. I had someone the other day ask me, so why are you doing the stream? And the goal of it is actually to really document and show what it takes to take a horse from unridden, lightly handled, safe to be around, but not understanding any of this riding malark, to going to a show and doing a demonstration like me and Puff do with the smoke trailers and the fire and all that. I am not promising that from now until November we'll be able to train this little Lollipop to do all that Puff can do. Puff's obviously had a few more years at it. But I often find that we think of starting a young horse in days and weeks, not months and years. And it's the quote that I always seem to quote when I'm starting young horses, which I got from Buck when I went and did a course at Aintree with him. The lady struggled with her horse for 45 minutes, finally got the correct movement from her horse, and he went, "That was real good, you got that right there, now you just got to do it a couple thousand more times." That's exactly how I feel about starting a young horse. You can be really quick, you can get stuff done really fast, but you've done exactly that, you've just done it once. And to really have it, you've got to do it a couple thousand times. And so I want to actually document and show me doing the same thing a couple thousand times, and the sort of the daily grind of it. There's a real, no matter how good you are, you have to put the hours in. And I think a lot of times when we have educational horsemanship videos, that was kind of cheeky. I'm feeling a bit cheeky this morning. We tend to show the perfect version because we all like to see things perfect and how they all go well. And what I want to do instead is show mistakes and how I rectify them, and show the hours of repetition and practice that we do. You know, not just in the day, on the moment, this is how you fix the problem, but thinking of it in that longer term. We're preparing for an event in November. We have done 5 days. By November it'll be closer to 60 or 70 days. I haven't counted that, so don't quote me on that, but we'll have many, many more hours of footage to show you. And you'll be able to actually see what it took to get from a vicious little Arab to super mega wonder Arab like Puff. And Rudolph and Valent, who are our other horses. In case you haven't watched a stream before, we do this every time, and I will probably do it every time right up until November, where we come in and we just walk around the outside. It is really important for your horse to just walk, particularly as, you know, I have to stable my horses here, so they haven't had time to stretch their legs. It gives us time to hang out, me time to assess his mood. He's a little bit grumpy this morning compared to yesterday. I got here a little bit later, so you had your breakfast 10 minutes later than usual, which may have had something to do with it. Might be that he's a little tired from the last few days mentally. It was the first time actually yesterday that he came in a little tired. Attaboy. Attaboy. I'll just mosey on back, hey? You know, your backup's got much better, hasn't it? I know I'm supposed to be curious about that flag. You are. I'm also asking for something. Listen to me, not the flag. Listen to me and not the flag, okay? Don't get all fixated on the flag. Go back. I know, it's slower than you want to go, but there you go. Oh, 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 oh. Oh dear. Oh dear. Really nice. Good boy. Good boy. We need little exercises to get him thinking about his feet. They're very simple. They do so much. Like I said that about his feet, but they do so much. Those little exercises, back up and pivots, hind quarter yields, fore quarter yields. They are your bread and butter. You just do them all the time, and they just get better and better, don't they? And I've watched Uncle Puff outmaneuver you in the field using those hindquarter forequarter yields, so yeah, he's trying to teach you. So comments, live chats all enabled. I'd love you guys to ask questions. If you want to be in the audience, and you can be in my headphones and you can hear it direct and you can ask me questions directly, we do take on volunteers here at Twyford. Also, if you bring your horse in for training, or if you're here for a what we call residential training, where you stay on site as a human and learn, you can be in the audience for this if you want to. We do lessons which are recorded like this, where you can hear the sound. And for this year, we're not charging any extra for those recorded lessons. If you want to know more about that, give us an email. I know, Lollipop. You've got to warm up. Got to warm up every day. And we, don't worry about... Hi. This walk is not meant to be a perfect walk, or it's not meant to be strict. It's literally just we're moseying somewhere together. And that's what I think of that saddle. I know. That's Uncle Puff, complaining that the stream is not about him. I don't know, Puff, you might get on the stream. You might do some leading off of you at some point in the future. Although we have done a bit of that with Lollipop already. You are such a stunning horse, aren't you, hey? I might be biased, but my goodness me, look at you. Yeah, yes, you're very wonderful. You want to move about a bit more? Should we see you prance? I like that as I prepare to set myself up for the circle, he didn't immediately jump into trot. I do quite like that. Because I wouldn't mind you just going out and walking, even. There you go. So I'm just watching his movement. You can see he's actually a little stiff today. Not massively. He'll loosen off. He's just not as forward. It could also be that he's just learning, like, we don't come out and rush. That's not how this works. Because before he'd come out with that sort of unexploded bomb feeling. He wants to come in here and show off all his best moves right away. That's really nice. There we go, loosening off the airwaves, huh? And that's, it's lovely when they're all prancy and fabulous like that, but we kind of want... We don't just want that tail up wildness the whole time, As wonderful as it is, Lollipop. And at his development, we don't worry about leads or any of that. The whole purpose of what we're doing right now is to just get him moving, get rid of that I've been in the stable energy, because he's got that little bit of, you can just feel this underlying tension to him, and it is just, I've been in a stable overnight. isn't it? If I had lots more money, Lollipop, I'd buy you a big lovely field. You could have 24-hour turnout and a track system. Oh. Little bit longer on this side, I know. Little bit longer. What I'd really love is, I'd love that golden sound before we move on. We don't really worry about all this in and out and up and down, and it'll go. You know, cutting the corners and all, it'll go. He's using far more energy doing that than he would if he just picked up a normal circle. And I was saying it the other day, there we go. We don't reward him at this stage. You can sort of choose what you want to reward for. Like, I could reward him for having his nose a little bit towards me instead of a little bit towards the outside. But like at this stage, the outside's more interesting than the inside. Hello. So I could reward him for doing that. Or I could reward him for maintaining a consistent circle without cutting the corner, or I could reward him for relaxing, like lowering his neck and softening that gait. You know, I can choose what I'd like to reward him for this morning, rather than later on it becomes very much, this is the thing my horse keeps doing over and over again, and I have to correct that each time. Where for now, I'll just pick something nice and smile. We're very much in that ignore the bad, reward the good stage, aren't we, Lollipop? You're very cute when you do this, and I don't entirely want to punish you for it, because it is very cute, and I do want you to think about coming in, but I've got an inkling that leaving you out will yield something better. We quite often, when we're teaching, we'll say that we're waiting for something, we're looking for something, and I feel like it can be to our detriment when we say we're waiting for this thing. I said earlier I'm hoping for maybe a blowout. But then he might do something better than that, or something different that I really like, and I want to reward that instead. I just know, that's good. I just know that what he's doing could be slightly better, and I feel like waiting for that is probably worth it. He knows the game. He knows, like, he'll get a release when he does the right thing. But there is a point, of course, where I could probably pushed it too far. But if I do, it's no big deal. We'll fix it another day. We've got months, not days. Got years. This horse is going to be still my horse in 20 years. You know what? I'm just going to end there. I don't quite know why. I might be able to say when I watch the stream back. But that was really nice. Come up here. And you notice I've, rather than stopping and standing, I've gone for a little walk. I like to do this a lot. Not everybody's the same on this, particularly in the natural horsemanship world. I'd love to have a debate on this one. I'm quite an active person, so I like walking, and I think horses like walking. There we go. I'd almost like to do a study. If anybody wants to do a study where we take 100 horses and we time how long it takes each one to figure out the puzzle based on trotting a circle and stopping versus trotting a circle and walking, and record it. And a lot of the information we get comes from old wonderful horse trainers that had their style of doing things, and people copied it, or people did something very similar, and their dad did it that way, and then their son did it that way, and it like filtered down in this wonderful sort of generational thing. But we're in a very different age now. We can record everything, and we can watch it back, and we can really see, like, is this technique that has been passed down for generations, is it the optimal and most effective way of helping a horse understand this or that exercise, or is there another solution? And because we can talk to each other so quickly, we can go back and forth on, well, my dad used to do it this way, my teacher taught me this way. Hi. Got an itch over there. Where is it? Is it lower down? Really? That was interesting. So we can come up with the best way. And the thing that's fascinating about horses and people learning to get along is you have one of the world's most adaptable prey animals working with the world's most aggressive predator and coming to a really happy and comfortable understanding most times. Morning pretzels, good hack. Oh dear. Come on then, lollipop. Let's have a look on the other side. Hey? You prefer this side, don't you? Hey? This is your preferred side. You have to excuse me, I got the snuffles today. I hope that's not coming across too badly on the stream. No, I do not have COVID. Thank you for asking, anyone that asked, anyone who's watching. You know what I want, don't you? You're just clever. Hey? No COVID symptoms. I have 2 children and 2 young girls, and they love to bring home all sorts of things from school, including colds. And yes, I do appear to have picked up something else. I will really try not to snuffle into the microphone. I noticed the other day I was doing it a little bit, and I listened back on the stream. You just move so beautifully, even when you're doing a lazy trot. It's nicer than most trots, hey? You can just see moments of what we're going to get. Like, he has the most incredible elevated trot, but he also, when he relaxes and sort of gets moving, he has this lovely long trot too, where he's sort of stretching the neck and the back is long. He's using himself really nicely. The thing with his big, fabulous prancy trot is his back doesn't actually move hugely. I say that like he doesn't move his back at all. Of course he moves his back. It's just, if he could lengthen and do a longer trot, he would actually use his back even more. He locks his neck up into the Arab position. He's not as efficient in his body as he is potentially there. He's taking those longer steps and using more of his body per step. That's how I think of it anyway. It can be very difficult to get the right movement in your horse. I mean, that's why we have so many gadgets to try and do it for us. It's like, I don't want to go for a walk. Okay, we won't go for a walk. I need to do the hindquarter yield on this side though as well. You know that, right? I'm quite excited. I get to do my first weekly review tomorrow. Hoping to upload it tomorrow. But basically I cut out all this stuff. As lovely as this stuff is, as much as I enjoy this stuff, it's not particularly fun viewing, I know. Although I couldn't have put a more beautiful horse for you to watch stand and think. But there's a lot of time where we just stand and think about what's just happened in these streams, because you have to for a young horse, and that's a big part of what I want to show in this start, is that it's not just the exciting bucking rodeo pony, it's development and learning and practice and everything else. So I really, really want to show that. But I get that, you know, if you've got a life of your own and you want, it's hard to watch. I think we'll be on 6 hours after today, if my session is as long today as it has been the other days. And I wouldn't have 6 hours to sit and watch, but I'm going to try and condense it down to 10 minutes. 10 minutes of just the best bits. And if there's a bit that you're like, ooh, that's really interesting, I'll try and I don't know how well these reviews are going to go, but my goal is to put a link or a sort of text in the video that says this is taken from this part of this video, so you can kind of see, oh, I can go back to the live stream and I can watch the whole thing rather than just the clip that Jamie took of it. Because obviously I will be trying to condense a week down into about 10-15 minutes, and then I'll be talking about what happened in the week. Now every day we have worked with a flag, because Lollipop has a bit of a thing where he likes to you've got to pay attention to your feet. He likes to look down at your feet, little Arab. There we go. Lollipop likes to, he's an Arab, so he hears loud noise, and he doesn't necessarily notice what the human is asking, he just reacts to the loud noise. So trying to get him to focus more on me and less on external stimulus, which is a long-term process. That's not something we're going to get anytime soon. It is hard for a young horse to really grasp this idea that something really scary and loud can be happening, but I need to listen to the little movements that my human is making. And the other thing we're working on a lot with Lollipop is getting him to think down to his feet over poles, because he has this wonderful Araby head. He throws up in the air and then doesn't think about where his feet are. So I want him to get much better at seeing things on the ground and understanding the distance from those things. I know, I wound you up a bit with the flag, and then I put you into a pole obstacle course, and it was just all a bit too much, wasn't it? Hey? No. You can do it at walk. I don't mind how you do it. And so the goal is, you know, to create confidence in coming into poles, not that he does look a beautiful, you see how he's avoiding that. He's trying to get around it. No, go on. And it's fine. Again, we have months to work on it, not days. It's better. That was better. Yeah, I don't know if you're quite ready for canter yet, my kiddo. You notice these poles are not spaced perfectly for his trot. They're closer to his canter. But it's not, my goal is not necessarily to get him perfectly trotting over pole. The goal is to get him to see a pole and think, how do I get my feet over that? Go on. And slowing down is a good option. Slow down, look at it. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. But I'm also not trying to punish when he cuts off. I just keep him going, make it uncomfortable. But I'm not trying to mostly just ignore the bad and reward the good that he does. That's always the focus. Sometimes that's not possible, obviously, for one reason or another. Oh, lollipop, still on that rope. Now, if those of you that have been watching, you'll notice that we have had some jumping challenges, and I switched techniques yesterday, so we're going to see today whether that made any difference. And this is the joy of starting your own horse and working. I didn't have to make a point of anything. I could just play about a bit and we do it again tomorrow, and then we play about a bit and we do it again tomorrow. Because if I make some horrendous mistake, it's not like the whole world is watching. Or maybe they are. But I can fix it. And actually I find it's more how well you manage your mistakes than it is how well you get everything right. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to pick the wrong choice in the moment. It's going to happen. Of course you should really try and not make mistakes. You should really try and set everything up perfectly each time. I'm not saying I did make a mistake, we'll find out. I don't even know. I tried a technique and I didn't follow it through to conclusion. Because jumping is not the focus, right? If he was going to be my show jumping Arab, I may have spent the whole time yesterday focused on get this jump right. But there's just no need, right? Get a slight improvement, 2%, less than 2%, 0.5% improvement. That's enough. I don't need any more, do I? No. I don't need any more. These poles are not being set up to try and prevent him from diving out. I'm just literally getting them out of the way. So in case you're thinking, he's got some really clever pole choices he's doing it. No, they're just in my way. Though I liked having the little grid up, get him thinking down to his feet. You see, it's not so bad, is it? Jumps are never bad. They're never a bad thing. But because the horse has to use a lot of energy to do a jump, they have a tendency to get a little overexcited and it become a stressful thing. And on day one he jumped for me, and on day two he was all, I'm not so sure. That's okay. And so for those of you that didn't see yesterday's stream but are watching today, we basically used a straight line after the jump to make him think a little. It's like, I know jumps, silly human, give me a treat. But I'm not just going to give you a treat because you demanded one. I tell you what, jump it, you get a treat. How about that? So what we did is, as we came in, we put a little bit of energy here and we leave him alone, and then after the jump, that's okay, go back to the middle, that's it. And then after the jump we trotted. You see, it's like he worked himself up to do it and then went, oh, I can't do it, it's too much. That's okay, dude, that's okay, you had the right thought, didn't you? What you don't really want to do, if you can avoid it, is you don't want to push them at the jump. It might be that he needs pushing at the jump just for that little bit of encouragement. It's very important this backup is not a punishment. This is not a You've done bad, Lollipop. It's just lining him back up for it again. Let's try it again. You ready? And part of it is like he's here and he's not thinking about it yet. Good. Oh, oh, come on. Come on. Oh, those back feet. Come on. Let's figure out those back feet. Figure them out. Little pop. There we go. And then we drop down to the end. This is the exercise we were doing yesterday, which is rather than making it a stressful thing, we push him before the jump. A few strides away to give him the energy. Leave him alone in the jump and then trot afterwards. And if after today we're still not really thinking forward through the jump, I may have to push him at the jump. But I don't really want to. He's already, it's not like he isn't trying. You can see that by how he sort of, you're not sure, then I'm going to look at you. There's very few times that horses are not trying. We have this thing where we need to teach that horse a lesson. It's very rarely that the horse is being disobedient. In his case, he's just not paying attention to it. You can see like he's just not thinking. He's all up, up, up. And then here, he's not really thinking down to it. He's just head up too much. We need that lowering of the head and thinking over it. This way the poles will help him a lot too, actually. There we go. Oh, and we're wild. And we're wild. But instead of just pressuring him at the jump, we're using a pattern. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. A pattern that will help him to understand it better, rather than just pushing him to do it. We'll do that one more time, kiddo. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's the wrong technique. We'll work it out. Won't we, kiddo? We've got time to be a little bit experimental, haven't we? Because whilst I'd love him to have a beautiful jump, he's not here to be trained to be a jumping horse, This is to benefit him in understanding where his feet are. And so the more times I can guide him into this, have it be okay, no big deal, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong. He's going to figure it out, aren't you? You're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out, aren't you, hey? You funny boy, aren't you, hey? You're itchy-faced now and you've barely even had a bridle on. Hey? There we go. Should give it another go. Oh, big sigh. Oh, big sigh. What do you think? There he needs to think about it. That's the point at which he needs to start thinking about it. Right there. There we go. And you did it. You did it. Wasn't so bad, was it? Hey? And so I wasn't actually ready to keep up with him there. What I really like is that he landed and he just went for it. Rather than... There's the hesitation at the jump. Yes, yes, there's a hesitation at the jump. Yes, yes. Please don't crack me in the head with that buckle. There's a hesitation at the jump. But... He was thinking forward, right? And I did actually push him in the jump a little bit there. So we'll see. Again, it's the joys of starting my own horse. I don't need to fix that. You know, even if I've chosen completely the wrong set of techniques there, it doesn't really matter. I can fix it later. If I need to spend a whole session on it, I can spend several. If I've completely ruined everything. So no, I haven't. He's getting better each day. It can just be so tempting. I think it's... I'm talking about this because I find it like a common topic where people get sort of fixated on, I've got to get it fixed today, I've got to get that done, I've got to show something, because we're so often doing a demonstration in front of people, and you know, you've only got one day to show what you want to show. And then, so I watched all these wonderful demonstrations of colt starting. I did when I was a kid, and I imagined it all being done in one day, not realizing the sort of behind the curtain magic that goes on. And I went to study with multiple different people and realized there's actually, you know, a really long time of just hanging out. Repetition. Do it again. No, do it again. No, do it again. No, do it again. No, do it again. Until the horse really, you know, settles down into it. The sort of daily grind, I guess. Hey, that's what we want to show, isn't it? The weeks of it. The setting something up today to work on for the next month. Not because it can't be done today. No, if I wanted to teach a course on how to get a horse to jump, he'd be a great one to show the process, what the horse needs to come to understand in order to be a successful jumping horse, the different techniques and strategies that you can use. There are so many. It's like the more you study, the more techniques you realise there are. I know, you're going to enjoy having the weekend off, aren't you? This has been quite a shift for you, hasn't it? We've put a lot on your mind. You notice I say it that way as well. It's not been a toll on his body at all. He has not sweated a single day. But almost every day, he has been tired. Mentally tired. You see him falling asleep in his dinner and been more than once on the stream where he's fallen asleep. Tired brain. Hey. I've got a tired brain. But yeah, it's so nice to be thinking in terms of the year. I've rambled about that a lot today, haven't I? Must be on my mind. Hey? Oh, lollipop. What do you reckon, kiddo? Hey, I'm going to move this. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes. I'm going to move it. You vicious, bitey animal. Huh? You're such a sweetheart, hey? Move it up here. Because, lollipop, yesterday you knocked it off by accident. I think your nose must have hit the button. Turned off the camera. Didn't stop the stream, just stopped the camera for a minute. There we go. So yeah, in case you're just logging in, gotta keep saying it, these are not how to start your young horse videos. That is not the goal of these videos. This is me having fun, starting my own young horse. You might learn some things, you might find it interesting, but do not think that you can watch this stream and then start your own young horse. That is not the goal here at all. I'm doing things very much for my little lollipop that I wouldn't necessarily do with a horse I had in for training, or a horse that I wanted to do something specific like show jumping, or if you said you're a happy hacker, I'd potentially start it in a different way, or if you said you wanted to do dressage, I'd potentially start it slightly differently. So just know that is not the purpose of these videos. What I hope they do show, though, is just how much effort goes into starting a horse. How much education has to happen. You know, he's had the saddle on now for 3 days, and still you can see him having to think, how does this work? We think of it as just something they should just do, right? But there's so much stimulus on the horse, so much pressure and feeling and sounds, and that he has to just be okay with. He has to just ignore all of that. And in the case of Arabians, they're very sensitive. Their touch is a real thing for them. My first horse, Stormy, was an Arabian, passed away a few years ago. But he just couldn't touch his head, ever. And you had to be so delicate to touch his head, and to put a bridle on was such a delicate process. I never did get contact with him because he was my childhood pony, and by the time I knew anything about contact, he was too old and we were too set in our way of doing things to change it. So, but yeah, the saddle going on is it's not just something the horse should get straight away. There's so many little, and with this saddle, it's not even little, is it? Tassels in the flank. There's a great big clanky stirrups that hit your shoulder. There's so much for the horse to understand and not be afraid of. Before you put my heavy fat butt on you, hey, and start unbalancing you by sitting crooked or not landing completely straight or everything else, hey. That walks better. better, isn't it? Hey, you're more laid back about the walk. What is that van doing up there? Hey? I like that he's playing with me a little bit at the walk. It means he's way more used to the whole idea, even if that first pivot was quite tense. Getting more laid back about the whole idea, huh? Really hoping we can get the canter today in the saddle. We'll just have to see, don't we? I'm not overly concerned if today we end up doing pretty much the same as we did yesterday. We got through a lot yesterday, didn't we? And we're on the last day of the week. He's going to get the weekend off, so even if we get further today, we may have to go back on Monday morning because he may have forgotten a few things or not have actually really learnt a few things, and we'll have to go over them again. Boy. He's so expressive in his face. I find myself staring at his nostrils and his eyes. Hey. I feel like I could do an entire course on how to read a horse's nostrils from him. So expressive, aren't they? We know from the canter and from just general handling that he's not as confident on this side. You can see him kind of looking to the outside, wrinkly nostril. Not so confident on this bend, which is why we've got to spend some time on it. Want them even both ways. He's a little bit more subdued today though, aren't you, Lollipop? I think it's good you're getting a day off tomorrow. It's such a big shift to go from not working at all to an hour a day, every day for 4 days in a row, isn't it? And again, it's mind work, not physical work. He hasn't sweated once. We haven't even got close to his physical. It's all in his head and in his emotions. The jumps bring up a lot of emotions. And even here you can see him blinking away and thinking about a lot of things, and we're just walking a circle. But he has to consider his balance with the saddle, and we just don't think of it, I guess, because they've got 4 legs. Surely balance isn't a thing for a horse. It's got 4 legs. It's not like you're going to fall over. Think about how hard we've got it. 2 of our legs. It's actually quite often the thing that scares a young horse when the rider's on is that the rider will knock the horse off balance. And although the horse doesn't stumble or trip or anything, the horse becomes upset because his weight, that's a good sign, his weight wasn't where he expected it to be. So he may have stumbled or he may have tripped, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. You can imagine a monkey sat on your back that knocks you off balance. That's not a particularly comfortable feeling, is it? No. I know. Are you breaking my very nice saddle? Are you? You're breaking my very nice saddle. Come on, let's have a look at that trot, hey? Let's have a look at that trot today. See what you've learnt. Shall we? Those nostrils. Take your time. Atta boy. Oh dear. Go on, go forward. There we go. That's not exactly what I planned, but it works. So we're just waiting for him to realise that he can move forward in the saddle. There we go. Good boy. Keep going, keep going. Whew. Made him pull out my fast run while Hey? I've gotten into my long distance running. That was some sprints, eh? There we go. There we go. That's what we were waiting for. From the beginning we were waiting for that, weren't we? You're all right. My little wonder, hey? Oh, what a boy, huh? What a clever boy you are. So, I don't know how many times I've said it on this stream, but This is not an educational how-to. Do not run with your young horse like that. It's not the way you do it. So why did I do it? It's so much easier for a horse to run in a straight line. So much less balance for them to have to think about. So it's easier for him to run the straight line. The safest way really to do what I just did would have been to not have the halter on, have him in a big round pen and send him around the outside in a 100-foot round pen, send him around the outside, really get him going forward. I do not have a 100-foot round pen. I have a 50-foot round pen that is currently a bog. And you can tell, like, if I was to put a 50-foot round pen up in here, it would be not any different really from being on this long line. So he needed more space to go forward. So I kind of compromised and I ran with him, but obviously I'm running with a horse that's bucking and scared. And there's a high chance that he could have bucked on top of me. That was not a safe thing for a human to do. But you could see the result for him. The rope and the circle was no longer a consideration as much. Let him really get forward rather than getting stuck thinking about it and going up in a tight space. When I worked in Australia for an instructor who, I don't know if she wants to be mentioned because she no longer does young horses, but she's a fantastic Australian trainer. We used to saddle young horses up in her old saddles in a 100-foot round pen that was sand. So again, a surfaced 100-foot round pen, wasn't a bog. And you just leave them there, and then when she was going to ride them, she would pull them out, change the saddles over to her nice saddle, and ride them. So they'd get hours and hours and hours of just hanging out in the round pen. And some of them wouldn't catch because, you know, they thought, oh, maybe if I don't catch, I won't have to do so much. So then they get to canter around the outside and have a little buck in that saddle, and yeah, they'd learn a lot just from being in a big round pen with a saddle that very much didn't fit, but without the extra weight of a rider and without the restriction of a rope or anything else, just the saddle to think about. So yes, if we were to do what I just did in an educational setting, it would be a 100-foot round pen at liberty. Maybe in a few years. Hey, maybe we'll get one. Currently trying to fundraise to surface our 50-foot round pen. Which would be good, won't it? It would be good to get that done. I've given you one too many sweeties today, haven't I? Haven't I? Yes. Josh. What do you think? could just watch his expression all day. Huh. Yes. You're so expressive in your face, aren't you? You're so expressive. Ooh, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? It's just terrible. Yeah, I guess on the 100-foot round pen thing, you don't necessarily have to have all the right equipment and all the right tools to start. Like we're talking about the ideal way of doing something. You very rarely have the ideal situation for every single moment, because every horse and every human is different. So you'd have to have so much equipment and so many different tools to be able to have everything covered. But it's sort of, you understand the process, you understand why you're doing something, and then you're able to adapt what you have. If I was working with a horse that I felt was going to run me over, I might have put them on an even longer rope, but still used the big arena and still got them to run the straight line, but they'd have been further away, so I would not have had to have run as far. Oh dear. Very sensitive there, aren't we? Huh? I don't get touched there very often. I don't get touched there very often. Unfortunately, now you're going to get touched there all the time. Hey? I had a question the other day about if I had kept walking him for longer, do I think he wouldn't have bucked with the saddle? My answer is no. I think he still would have bucked no matter how long we'd walked for. What I maybe could have done a bit better is played a bit more with moving these stirrups about before because that's where our issue really lies, isn't it? Is in this stirrup slapping you unexpectedly. And actually that doesn't really mean anything. You don't need to worry about that. At the same time, just having him move forward and having it flap and him ignore it is equally effective. You know, it does the same thing. I tend to do this stirrup work on this day because I can use it as a little pre-understanding to, I'm going to put my leg on today potentially when I'm sat up on your back, and if I put my leg here and I push harder, it means step over, and I release and I rub, and then I flap it around, and you just ignore that because my leg's terrible in it. Flaps all over the place and you just got to ignore that. All that palaver is just nonsense that you just ignore. And then I'm going to push back here, and that pushing harder is going to mean leg over. Good. And potentially, if I'd done this with him when I first put the saddle on and he was pretty calm with it at the walk that first day, we may have got some panic there, and it might just have been less. It may not have been as much. I may have been able to work with it a bit more. But you must never, if you're watching this and wanting to learn a few things, never second guess or question your decisions. Because in the moment you can't be thinking, ooh, what if this is the wrong thing to do? You have to sort of feel it and just try it. And if you get a negative reaction, you go, next time I get a horse like this, after you've put the horse away, you go, next time I get a horse like this, I might do something different. But if in the moment your brain says, I want to make this decision, you've kind of just got to trust yourself until you've had the time in and experience to go, there may have been a better way. And by the way, there is always a better way. That's the joy of what we do, is there's very rare that you have an entire session where you don't make at least one mistake. One of my favourite sayings being, horsemanship can take about 20 minutes to explain and about 2 lifetimes to master. Because there's so many little decisions, so many little moments where you make a judgment call. Like here, when do I ask him to do the next thing? How long do I leave him to stand? Do I end the session now on a positive note? Since we are over time again, do I hop on him again? Because it would be great to sit on him again. And I think that's probably what we are going to do, is do those flappy stirrups one more time. Send you forward one more time. And finish there for today. Yeah, I know I really wanted to ride you today too. But I think if we ride, it'll be half an hour. Won't it? Did it touch you? And was it terrible? Hey? I know. It's a difficult thing to understand, isn't it, all this? And I want to, I just want to say there's nothing really stopping me from getting on in today other than time. I have quite a lot to get done today. I was behind yesterday all day because I ran half an hour over because I got on him. And it's just again, we have a lifetime with this horse. There is no hurry, is there? And maybe you'll think about all this, and on Monday morning, maybe it'll take less time. And we'll have time to ride. Okay. So yeah, if you want to see the first time he was sat on, yesterday's video, we sat on him the first time. And you're a very good boy, aren't you? He's really not afraid of people being around him. He is just a classic Arabian, sensitive to touch. You have to learn to cope with a big clunky saddle, don't you? Okay. We'll go for a little walk to the right, then we're going to do a little circle to the right, trot to the right with the saddle on, and I think that's good for today, kiddo. You did a little better over the jump, didn't you? And we got a lovely trot at the beginning, where you're beginning to stretch your neck in the trot. Actually use your back a bit more. There is no rushing a horse at all. You can get stuff done quicker. You can get on faster. You can do things faster. But you create more tension in doing that. And you lose trust. And you then have to spend time in repetition doing it again and again and again to rebuild that trust. So it's not exactly like you did do it faster, you just got doing things faster. Then you have to establish the trust again, or the relaxation. And you're always playing this balancing game between respect, the horse listening to what you say, doing things that you ask, and liking you as a human being, wanting to be with you and do stuff with you. Too much of the friendly, loving side, and your horse just ignores everything you say and runs you over. Too little, and the horse is just waiting for an excuse to sort of escape from you. I would always rather, in all my relationships, with my horses, with my kids, have someone that answers me back, is willing to tell me I'm wrong, than have a robot on the end of the rope. You want to try that trot on this side, kiddo? Try that trot and maybe a canter on this rein. Take your time. That a boy. I know those stirrups, hey? Still bug you. And I guess it should be noted, he doesn't ever have to like those stirrups whacking his side. It'd be very strange for him to sort of get, he's a sensitive horse. He's never gonna be like, oh thank goodness those stirrups are whacking my side. But he needs to get to a point where it doesn't upset him emotionally to have me or just the stirrups accidentally hit him in the side, because it will happen to him in his life more often than I would like it to. In an ideal world, I wouldn't have to train this at all, because my leg would be so perfect and would only ever go on, even if he panics, would only ever go on when I needed him to do something, and would remain as still as a statue all the rest of the time, perfectly in time with his motion. But we all know that's never going to happen. Having these videos just makes it even more obvious how many times my leg moves. And I still think I have a very good lower leg. Compared to most, hey? That's what makes me good at this. But you just know, even if I've been doing this for 80 years, he's going to do a move I'm not expecting or not ready for, and my leg's going to bump him on the side, and then that adds pressure and makes the situation worse. Where if I can make it to where things bumping his side doesn't cause extra pressure, my little leg mistakes might just get a wrinkly nostril and an ear's back. But not an emotional reaction, not a tense, fearful, stressy reaction, just think, kiddo, we're going to try that canter. We'll try that canter on this rein. You're ready, aren't you? You're already ready to go. You read my mind, I think, sometimes, you ponies. Come on then, you can do it. Let's see you really go forward in it. One last time. Oof. Or not. Come on. Something spook you in the hedge. Come on then. Come on. Let's go. That's it. That's it, lollipop. There we go. I didn't really mean to guide you into the jumps there. Sorry, kiddo. Oh dear. What happened, Prancy Arab? What happened there? Hey? What happened there? Oh, poor boy. Once more? I know. You can do it. You can do it. Love to see an upward transition without the fear, hey? Or just without it having to go over the top. You can do it. Wait. There we go. There we go. That's a better one to end on, isn't it, hey? I know. I find you play like a bit of a balancing act there, where you sort of nag them into the canter rather than, or into the upward transition. It can be into trot as well, where he's sort of trying. He's like, oh, I don't know how to do it, but you also are encouraging them. But I often find you have to work a bit on your phases after doing this, because your horse gets a bit like, oh, I've got time, I don't need to listen. You're going to wiggle that rope for a long time before you tell me off. But I know if I went, go forward, 2, 3, 4, whack, he would most definitely buck. And I want him to think about it and try. But I know that from a understanding pressure standpoint, you should be very consistent in your phases and have a rhythm and a timing and a 1, 2, 3 and a 4. And if he's not cantering, you need to tap him on 4. It's a little different though when you're working on, this is going to be hard, isn't it? I know, you can do it. Good boy. But Jamie, there's a great big heavy thing on my back. I can't go backwards, rounding my back into the saddle with a great big heavy thing on my back. Again, this is actually quite an unsafe thing to do, which is why I've left it till quite late. And I've positioned myself in such a way that if he did something, had a panic, I could protect myself. I think we're going to be fine. You have to go back. I know. There we go. Oh dear. Oh dear. Really? Is it these tassels that have been bothering you as well as the stirrups? Okay. Things are going to touch you there. It's okay. Oh, so much sensory information, isn't there, for you to get used to. Just so much. Good boy. If you want to, come on. I was kind of planning on ending 10 minutes ago, but we've kind of the session's ended up creeping on, hasn't it? I feel like you're trying to tell me something. You've got an itch, maybe. Is that what you're trying to say? You're itchy under the saddle. Alrighty. Come here. I know, that wasn't an alrighty at you. We're going to go do something. No. We're going to wrap up, kiddo. And that is the end of our first week, Lollipop. I'm sad I didn't get a chance to ride you today. As I said, I probably could have. But we're in no hurry. Lollipop. He's certainly very confident at the walk without the stirrups flapping him in the side, so I'd be happy to hop on him at the walk and do some stuff. And there's still a chance, even when I start riding him, that we may have to ride a few bucks if he gets spooked, but you're pretty clever. I don't think it's going to be a problem for very long. Those stirrups will clack your leg. Stand still. You're supposed to stand still for this. So stirrups will clack your leg. Oh dear. Stop. You're going to make problems happen. I know. It's not a good time to move your feet. Okay. Lovely little boy. well, definite improvements on everything. I feel like our saddling has gone back a little bit, but I think it's more that he's thinking about it more than he was before. He's a little bit more subdued today. Don't you think he might be tired? No, baby brain. But we'll get the weekend off, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Hey. The little baby Arab. Huh? You're so sensitive on your sides, aren't you? But as I said, we didn't want to do a live stream to show everything being perfect. Lollipop. We wanted to show everything, what it takes to make a young horse. Not just when everything goes right, but also the things that you struggle with, things that you work on. In our case, it's going to be a lot of getting used to that saddle going up and down on here. And yeah, we'll see you on Monday morning. You good boy, Lollipop. Hey, I gotta turn all the cameras off now. Yeah, I do. Don't eat the saddle. Like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this sort of fun video of me just playing with my ponies. My pony. Getting him rideable. Yosh. Yosh. You know. The long, slow game. Huh. Ooh. Ooh, yes. And I will see you all on Monday. Let's turn the camera off on your chest, hey? And we'll turn the stream off. On the laptop.